is it all textile, or does it actually, no, it doesn't have any buttons on it. Looking from far away, it feels like it should have.
Oh, it does
has
look
this
like
little-
buttons.
It feels like it has, yes, it's a neat tie.
Thank you.
Gives me the wobbles.
What?
Gives me the wobbles.
Really?
I thought that was alcohol that did that.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I've never been drunk, so I don't know.
Oh, you're the one.
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is the
How's it going?
permanent designated driver.
We're still finding out.
Yeah.
Still waiting on, things to come back, right?
Well, we went,
Additional things
yeah,
to go.
we had a day in court. We'll have another day
Yeah,
in
I saw
court.
that, yeah.
Yeah. Why, did you read Kel's blog?
I read that, yeah, it was on Cal's and then it was somewhere
Yes,
else.
yeah. We don't pay any attention to Kel's blog.
I read everything I can.
It was on something else? Where else was it covered?
Well,
I'd seen a couple of mentions on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
I read everything, I don't.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose, I didn't know anybody had it on Facebook, so.
Yes, I'm here, sitting in the dark.
we,
I'm in the corner
be
because
glad
I'm
to
being
share with
punished.
you what the latest stuff is about.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, it basically comes down to Judge wants clarification on 2 points.
So I'm not allowed, my wife put figures, my grade went up and down.
The electric
I
has
hate
the right to
disturb people.
direct the board relating
And
to
I was,
the
I
project.
put my name on the
So,
speaker
and he
list.
said that counts that as a
Crossed
person.
off the road.
Well, no, he says that we are, it's only in property, he says, that we have authority,
And,
which is not
which is,
accurate either.
yeah.
Fell and separated my
That we
elbow.
had to say, budget is
Oh,
so our responsibility.
What do you- Yeah.
well,
Why did you money in property?
had a bad back and
Anyway,
went down.
we're trying to clarify that, plus with
I
Congress,
slipped on the floor.
if you and me is before the budget for the next year is. Right after the last meeting.
Right after the last meeting.
There could not be.
Build it
It's
down.
not, and it's not, it's something that the board
Is it
would
just
do,
your arm?
not
Well,
the electors.
I've got to watch this leg because it's,
So,
Yeah, it's an undue burden
if
for
I walk fast,
electricity,
I'll make a sudden
budget.
Yeah, just.
Right.
So we can't chase you around?
You can't run away from it.
They cut you down. Now we can cut you.
Can't run away.
All right, Steve is not here yet.
so we've got that.
I don't know. Stay there.
And I think that's, those are all things that we do.
You're good with everything?
I don't know. I couldn't get it hooked up at home, but maybe I can get it here.
All right, if not, I do have a packet printed, but it's printed small. We don't know why, because we printed it on 2 different printers.
Huh?
This is mine, right?
Oh, I'm in all these pictures.
Yeah, everybody just shut it down.
Haven't seen anything on the.
It's in small print. We don't know why.
Oh, I brought it along just in case you might be able to.
There's now YouTube.
Oh, you haven't been able to?
It's easy.
Did you call and say everybody?
All of them, got it on.
Yeah,
I changed the password, I tried putting it in and
And this is
I've been going to
It's,
I should have, let's see if we can get it on.
I've never met
I mean, it's just
What is it, just like the newest thing?
yeah, well, you get
This
the
is your
newspaper,
copy of the
sometimes
same thing you can find out.
So did you talk to him about this affair?
that was before everything started. We recorded this, we didn't want anybody we didn't want to give anybody heads up on the question.
You can't catch a break, Mike.
We didn't release them until everybody.
dislocate my elbow.
Jeez.
So,
So I figured
Don't
that
panic.
experience. and diabetes.
Okay.
You
Well, I
got
see your
diabetes
money.
too?
Yeah, so I'm,
Eat vegetables. Just a biggie. Well, you're gonna get to like them. And fiber. By brownberry bread. It tastes really
what kind
good.
of?
Brownberry. Tastes really good, and it's high in fiber. There's little.
How's your sugar?
It's really good.
What do you cut that?
I'm averaging, the last 7 days I'm averaging 115. I think over 90 days it's 135, but that was only because in the beginning I didn't know what I was doing. I was getting readings like over 200. I was close to 400 when I was in the hospital.
You got 400, isn't it?
How did you do that, Mike?
I was trying to get something to drink about midnight. This leg, thinking about it, just get it out. And, you know, when I looked down at my arm, instead of it going like this, it was going like this.
That's not good.
No.
So what are they doing to make your legs stronger?
Well, it's part of the, I got diabetes too now, so, and there's neuropathy, I think they call it.
Oh, yeah,
So
everybody,
it's
yeah.
weakening my legs. I've lost probably 25 or 30% of my leg strength. Well, in my van is almost impossible now.
Were you in the hospital?
Your feet go on here.
So did they put you where you couldn't get out of the bed?
Oh, no, they only kept me there about 3
It's the
hours.
nerves.
You're lucky because
You can't.
usually when you fall, you just,
The nerves in your legs. It feels like.
they won't let you out of the bed.
Well, they're trying to-
Really bad.
This doesn't come up, I'm gonna have it in there. I'll
Diabetes
get
has-
this stuff. And then I'll make sure that it's working here.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Now it's thinking.
My greetings to a person who's next to us.
So,
Yeah. So you're locked out right now. All right, so just use it. We won't try, because we tried to do it too many
Did you
times
get-
with the password.
Oh, Deb,
I did try a few times.
what?
So we had no luck.
Nice to-
oh, they
All
moved
right,
it
so
on.
I will, no, that's quite all right. I will get it fixed for you. Okay? Because I will be out.
Just leave me.
So yeah, just use that packet. Do you need an agenda?
Yeah, I know.
Do you have an
Yeah, I
agenda?
don't think there's.
Oh. I didn't see it.
No.
I didn't
Yeah, you gotta go over that for a second, I need you in it. Let me give you an agenda.
I've had that pen for 27 years. No, 17 years.
Not as much as me.
As what?
Not as much as me.
It's a month.
Are you happy?
$400
No.
When I first got that, the guy in front of me said, you lose those within 6 months.
It's one of those days.
I tell them, their signature. It's like,
We're on one.
I have pens that are like 15 years
Jim said lists and miniatures and lists.
It's all
Yeah, that's what I heard.
machine.
It's been one of those days.
The roller ball,
It wasn't too bad.
even though it's better, but it's like a phone. No, that's just.
And we're short. And we have all this empty space to fill here. This is the most popular place, isn't it?
So it's a YouTube.
She gets it online, No.
Hi, Mike.
Because she's, you know,
At the back. Back's better, everything else is bad. Hi. Bob.
It wasn't personal.
well, I got another question. We did do We don't know why. So let's see if it's restarting now, so let's see if we can get it.
I'll comment that too.
Because I guess you
We did find something.
were, you didn't want it done, when the votes in the same way.
This I think is
So I figured it was just pointing out.
I'm not surprised. He's supportive.
Alright, we'll have to call that number, and then that sheet, and then they'll give you what, you don't have those. As you change it, we won't have it, they would have to go in and just reset it, okay? You are welcome.
What do you usually have?
Any, did you have any questions on what you've seen on the room?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Do you want to ask me?
How do you do it?
I'm alive.
Okay, so
He's alive. He's been
As
doing
far
good.
as,
The old zone. Now, one thing
no,
about
I
it,
do
he
all
never
the finance.
complains. That's how he is. It's always been that way.
That's half of the battle.
Yeah.
Well, there's things in here that don't make any sense.
Okay.
All these amounts.
Yeah, the reason these are voided, they're all direct deposits. So it does show that we paid them out, but it shows as a deposit. There isn't going to be. Because payroll is not public. You're not okay. You're okay is this, you know, is the bills that have been prior, and what you found. These are the bills that you guys have put in, they don't care.
We don't wanna take that away from you. If I share it. Huh? Oh, good. Me too. We got it, okay, Johnny's got to start with their budget.
No, I just can't.
Sorry.
She's trying to work me off here.
So anything that has been paid for, those are returned. They don't need to. If you ever know, so that was reimbursed under the umbrella.
What they done, because we don't,
And,
Where's the date?
it has.
That you can come in and see anytime. This board has not done that. They are here.
Yeah, so.
I should, but if you want to come in, every other board is coming in and do everything.
yeah, he's got a guy.
Because there is backup out there.
Or I turned my phone off.
Yeah, you can't do it.
But he gets my minute.
Get your reps.
More than 40.
that's pretty difficult. But you can come in, those are ready.
So I went to
I'll back up there.
the nature picture. She says it was barely anything. I don't know if he's an outfit, and vitamins and things like that.
No, I'm not saying they were, but I'm saying there's
And maybe back 6 months later.
like the actual bill are
So all this time. And I told
that's what all the words have done. Oh, okay. Mike has signed it. So that means prior meetings, so he knows what the question and what not. And that might be what you want to do, so you can see when you sit together.
Right.
And then you can see where what's question not to, if you don't want to try to go straight. Does that make sense?
Hey, how are you?
Well, I'm gonna be careful. I don't know if that is, we have, money market and check sweep account, several balance. Okay, and whenever it goes either below or over, it either sweeps back or back into it. So it's an interest bearing account. So those are done automatically by the bank. That's why we get them right in as a receipt. Those are, that is the Illinois replacement tax that goes back to from the state. We get a charge from the state council for Illinois replacement. And it's allocated. Once we get that money, we'll get this percentage. Yeah, we have to go for the city, I don't know why they don't, but that's the procedure for it. Like, and that's what my way. And you can.
the annual meeting.
I wasn't sure. Debbie, is this yours? I'm gonna take that job. Sorry. I have to get it reset. Okay. Do you want me to take yours, or are you gonna just call them? No, you can. Call them directly, then they can just walk right through it.
I think that is the one.
I don't know, it's not mine. So I would guess it's yours. It's really not mine. It's not working.
Don't give it to him, he'll never shut up.
I'm not in charge of that.
All right, at the hour of 7 o'clock, let's call the meeting to order to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. One second. first order of business tonight is public comment, and I have the list here. First one on the list is Judith Gottlieb.
My name is Judy Gottlieb. I live at 2814 Regner Road in Mchenry. I just wanted to correct what's in the minutes regarding the comments that were made at the August 23rd meeting by myself and my husband. The comments that Dan had written down omitted these points. That the principal thrust of questioning of the two publicly interviewed candidates was about how Republican they were, and even involved discussion of their voting records. That the demand by Mr. Burr for a closed session just for him invites the question of whether there was something in his past that needed to be kept secret. That denying the opportunity for the final three candidates to compete in interview while conducting a closed interview for just one candidate obscures what should be an open process and is arbitrary and capricious and subject to legal challenge. And it represents a withering of our democracy. In my comments, I had, and this was not noted, so I bring it up again, I said that this appointment is not a personnel action for a private person to serve as an employee. It's an appointment as surrogate for an election, and the qualifications of the candidate should be open and subject to public review and evaluation in lieu of the electoral process. This is what the board at the beginning of the meeting had agreed to do in the interest of transparency. Thank you, and I will provide this to the clerk.
Well, before we go on, I'm remiss. I want to read the statement that applies to all our meetings, okay? Mchenry Township welcomes your attendance at its meetings. All regular meetings of the Mchenry Township Board are by law open to the public. Public comment is invited early in the meeting on the agenda and again later at the end of the agenda. Public comment segment of the meeting is for citizens' comments, not for questions, answers, discussion, or debate. The Township Board, the Highway Commissioner, or Assessor are not obligated to respond, comment, or otherwise debate issues raised during public comment. Anyone wishing to be heard and participate in public comment session must register on the sheet in the back of the room, which you have, and if anybody else wants to register that hasn't, let me know. In effort to be heard, comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual and will be monitored by the town clerk and our supervisor. Interrogation or personal attacks or personal invectives against the township staff, the township board, highway commissioner, assessor, or township personnel will not be tolerated. The supervisor may interrupt or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Request any individual to leave the meeting when the person does not observe reasonable decorum. Request the assistance of law enforcement officers to remove a disorderly person with whom their conduct interferes with the orderly progress of the meeting. Call a recess or adjourn to another time when the lack of public decorum interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Okay, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Thank you. All right, now going back to public comment, I have Robert Beltram next.
I hope the fact that the police officer I'm in the room as I go to the podium doesn't have any inference.
Your name and address.
Robert Beltram, 2814 Breakers Road, McKenna. As most of the people in this room already know, I'm engaged in a legal dispute with the township, and we are in court. We've been in court this week. We'll be in court again in a few days. And I just want to say that this whole thing is so unnecessary and a waste of my money and the money of the township and the taxpayers, because it could all be resolved. I'm not doing this to oppose the decision to have a referendum, but I'm doing this to oppose having a referendum where the information is not available to the voters about prudence or even what the alternatives are that we're facing if we do away with the road district and the highway commissioner's office. So there's plenty of time to have that referendum done. That's extremely important. that we do it intelligently with the information in front of us. So, it's not too late. We can still stop this right now, cut our losses, because it can get much more expensive. The whole thing right now is riding on a couple of simple points in the judge's mind, and we believe that we can get them cleared up at the next court meeting. So, we believe it's going to develop in our direction, but it's still going to cost us money. I would just not go to court again. So it's up to you folks. Let's do the reasonable thing and all cut our losses. Thank you.
Thank you. One second. All right, and next I have Carol Persky.
If I understand what you read first, no questions are allowed.
No.
Okay, in that case, I have a Freedom of Information document I'd like to present to the board before they depart this evening, and I withdraw my name.
Okay. Anybody else that wants to speak in public comment that has not signed up? Last call. Okay. We're gonna move on. Thank you. Next order on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. We ought to do these one at a time. First is the review of the regular Mchenry Township Board minutes held on August 9th.
I have one correction, small one,
Okay.
but it's on some new business in number A, and I just wrote it off from the computer, but it reads consideration on sending a request to the McHenry County Board requesting that they conduct a cost-benefit study to determine the financial outcomes of consolidating the McHenry County townships from 10 to 8 or fewer and sharing the cost with all townships. I believe I said actually have the county share some of that cost too.
Okay, that's,
Because they certainly have been on record since 2013 to do that. If I failed to put that in, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I had said that though, because that was my whole goal, was that we should share the costs with them, not have them opt out of that.
okay. Let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. Didn't we send a letter to all the county board members requesting that, or we did, correct?
Yes, yeah, we did, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Right. I've also invited a couple county board members that come here, but then things kind of got lost with their schedules, but I really feel strongly that they should be involved with that cost.
Okay, and I have no problem adding that to the minutes. Is anybody opposed to that? All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes?
Aye.
Or aye? Aye. Any no's? Okay, none being heard, we'll add that to your, Dan, if you can get that from Bob to add to
What
there.
do we just like, so the county also will share the cost of something.
So therefore, if we do that, then can I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Is there any other corrections from anyone else?
Or any other corrections from anyone else first?
Then I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Accept them with
Okay.
correction.
We have a first and second to correct the minutes based upon what was just added. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None being heard, those minutes are approved. Okay, we'll move on to the review of the special Mchenry Township Board minutes held on the 20th. Are there any corrections to those minutes?
I have none.
Anybody else have any? Okay, with none, can I get a motion to approve these?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Rakestraw to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Anderson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None being heard? It passed. Now we're moving on to review the special township minutes held on August 23rd. And so I'm looking if anybody has any corrections on those, and if not, a motion.
I'll make that motion to accept those minutes.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Anderson. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Wojciechowski. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? None being heard, motion carries. Okay. we just had one executive session minutes. Did you give those to,
What was that?
the one executive session
Yeah, I
minute?
gave you each one.
Okay, there's that there that was from our, last meeting. And if you could just look it over, are there any problems with those minutes?
I have no questions.
No questions, no problem?
I'll make a motion that we accept.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Ricks to accept those executive session minutes. We may have a second by someone.
Second.
Mr. Anderson, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposed. We could also, at this time, release those executive session minutes, if that's all right with everybody. There's no reason to keep them sequestered.
Go for it.
So I need a motion to release those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Mr. Ricks to release those minutes. Second by Mr. Anderson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those are approved and released. Okay, next item on the agenda, motion for the approval of receipts and bills for the town fund.
I will read it, but Craig, one thing has been troubling me all the time I've been on this board, I never brought it up, but we have a word in here that, you know, it says examine and audit it. Why is the word audit in it? Because we really are not auditors. Is that, why is that word in there?
They consider the, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Miltel, the township trustees used to be considered the township auditors.
Right.
It's just a word that they use.
So why don't we look at cleaning it up and taking it out of it? Is there a need to do that?
I don't see, is there any reason
I
that we?
think it comes from a statutory piece out of the township code that does it, that talks about the audit. Again, you're not auditors per se.
Right.
For example, total bills paid prior to audit. Again, you're looking at approving these bills, but you're not the auditors. You're just looking over the bills and saying, we've looked at the bills.
Right, I examine them, I'm comfortable with that, you know. or
You know
review
what,
them.
if we could have, could I make a suggestion? That we have Jim look at that for us and see if that can be removed, if it's not a statutory requirement.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay,
I have no problem.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, sure, okay. So we, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 13th day of September 2018 examined and audited amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorize the payments of the same. Total reimbursement be approved, $48. Total bills to be approved, $44,271.64. Total bills paid prior to audit, $103,890.87. Total to be approved, $148,210.51. Total receipts, $24,606.85. So I'll make a motion to approve the receipts and pay the bills for the town fund.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Anderson to approve the receipts and pay the bills of the town fund. May I have a second for that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wojciechowski. We need a roll call vote of this. Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw.
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Wojciechowski.
Yes.
And does Mr. Veer vote on this at this time? Mr. Veer, I guess, does vote on this. Yes, Mr. Veer.
Well, the computer I was given today wasn't functioning, needed a special password. So I really haven't looked at any of this stuff. And
Would you like to abstain then?
yes,
Okay. Mr. Veer abstains. So we have 3 ayes and 1 abstention. Motion carries. Okay, motion for the approval of receipts and bills for the general road and bridge fund.
We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 13th day of September 2018 examined and audited amounts due for the items specified in the claims of tax and hereby authorized payments of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $87,227.57. Total bills paid prior to audit, $15,500.25. Total to be approved, $102,727.82. Total receipts, $12,460.35. I make a motion to approve the receipts, pay the bills.
On the general road and bridge fund.
The general road and bridge fund.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Wojciechowski to accept the receipts and pay the bills of general road and bridge fund. May I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Anderson. Roll call vote. Mr. Wojciechowski.
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Rakestraw.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Ver.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Motion for approval of receipts and bills for the permanent hard road fund is our next item. Somebody got it. That's you.
Permanent Hard Road Fund. We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 13th day of September 2018 examined and audited the amounts due for the items specified in claims attached and hereby authorize payment of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $57,092.30. Total bills paid prior to audit, $19,262.32. The total to be approved, $76,354.62, leaving total receipts at $5,674.60. Nothing noted as an exception.
Okay, would someone make a motion to accept that?
I'll make the motion to accept the
Okay.
receipts, pay the bills for the permanent hard road fund.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Wojciechowski. Second to that motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Rakestraw. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Vera.
Abstain.
Mr. Wojciechowski.
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Rakestraw.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is fund transfers. Don't need to do any at this particular moment. New business, we have two things on here. The first was an item that Mr. Anderson, I believe, asked to have on this agenda. This discussion is how to go about changing the Illinois state law in regards to not allowing elected officials to hold multiple elected positions simultaneously. Example, state offices with other elected offices, school board with other elected offices, library board with other elected offices. So it's open for discussion.
Could we add township offices too?
Yeah, you sure can. That was,
Okay.
I thought that was implied.
No. In fact, that was my main focus. But from my end of it, certainly multiple offices, it can be a problem, but for my end of it, I really think it's not right to be able to be a township supervisor or township assessor and still hold a state office such as a state senator and a state representative. And we do have our assessor here that is on the ballot, that has stated at a meeting here that she's gonna hold both those jobs simultaneously. And I think if anybody would go out in the public and ask that question, if you think that's right, most people will tell you what they tell me, it's against the law. I said, no, it's not against the law. And I brought that up to some of our state legislators, representatives, that has gone nowhere. So as being a member of elected board here, I'd like to find out what other people's opinions are and possibly what we can move forward to change that.
Okay, I understand that, and I also agree with you, but I don't believe, and Mr. Miltel will have to correct me, this is in the purview of this board that we can do anything about this. My suggestion would be, as you've already tried, Bob, would be you have to, it's a state law, and you would have to personally lobby the state legislatures and state representatives to change this law. We have no official standing on this as a township.
No, the Attorney General does offer opinions from time to time, compatibility of office position opinion letters. Some are formal, some are informal. If this board certainly could direct or sign something, whether through the county and or through the state legislatures, asking for legislation to develop some issues regarding compatibility of offices, depending on those particular offices that you want to have cleaned up.
Then in that case, Mr. Anderson, I would suggest that we'll make this easy. You draft a letter and bring it in, and I'll bring it to the next board meeting, and if everybody approves, we could send it off if that's acceptable.
It's acceptable, and I'd be happy to do that, but I'd also like to have to poll the board to see how the board members stand on the issue. Do they think that it's right that you can be a township assessor or township supervisor and hold those state office simultaneously? Or even, the ones that I'm gonna focus on is gonna be the township people, okay? I don't know, I'm not gonna get drafting a letter to take in the other ones that you have put in here. If somebody wants to do that, that's fine, but I'm focusing on the township end. So that's what I'm looking for support. If there's support from this board, then I think we should do what we can as far as draft the letter and send it to, we got some new legislators that'll be coming up here in election November, and start with that.
I'm fine with that. I would just want to add one thing. I don't think you should be able to hold any two elected positions at the same time. And, because.
Can you guys use the microphones,
Oh, I'm
please?
sorry.
'Cause, you know, yeah, I don't know.
Sorry.
It's hard.
It's just my opinion that you shouldn't hold any two elected offices at the same time. Example, library board in another office. Yeah, they may not be paid, but you have an awful lot of control over a lot of tax dollars as one individual. I don't think that's right either.
Okay, and then I would definitely draft a letter to
Okay.
I'd like to make a statement.
Sure.
I believe that the positions that are unpaid is basically volunteer work. So I don't see any problem with somebody holding a paid position and also holding a position that's unpaid because it's basically volunteer work. I have no problem with that.
I understand that, Steve, and I appreciate that. I'm just saying you still have a lot of control over the actual levy that's being produced at those institutions, so, okay.
Just a point of clarification too, when the Attorney General usually looks at these types of positions, whether they're compatible or not, it's not just a matter of whether it's a paid or unpaid, or it's a elected or unelected or appointed. Sometimes you have various positions that are appointed throughout the county as well. And you have committees that are appointed by other people. The question becomes an issue of whether or not there's an overlapping power, whether one set of powers and another set of powers can infringe on any of those powers. And when you have that overlapping power, Attorney General's position has come down pretty strict on it, saying if you have any two positions, whether it's elected, unelected, unpaid, whatever that may be, if you have powers that are overlapping at that point in time, you have an incompatibility.
Would you call that a conflict of interest?
Yes, same thing. So
what I would like to do is, but at least when I'm hearing you say, Stan, that you have a problem with some of the two elected positions, let me just draft a letter and I'll cover all those positions.
If you would draft a letter,
And then I'll
and you
bring
can
back the
email
board.
it to me, I'll put it on township stationery, and we can see if it could be approved at the next meeting, if that's.
Or whenever I get to it.
That's
Okay.
whenever we get to it.
It's not a rushing matter.
Okay.
I feel like that once this election opens, I think we need to make a move at that time, like at least after the November election, we get new people in
Okay.
office. There's a lot of new people going to Springfield.
Sure.
I think they'll have new ideas, and I think it's time to address that.
Okay.
So, I'll, when I come up with the time of it, but it'll be done.
It'll be a while.
Okay,
That's
thank
fine.
you.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Fair enough, thank you, gentlemen. Next item on here is the discussion of intergovernmental agreement again between, let me explain this, between Mchenry Township, Nunda Township, the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and the Mchenry Township Fire Protection District for one additional tornado siren in Marine Hill State Park. What happened is the fire board came to me and said they are a little bit embarrassed. They never thought they were coming back to ask us for anything else, but apparently they talked to Marine Hills, and the director at Marine Hills they didn't think it would happen this quickly. He was all on board for getting a siren there. And so then there's in your packet here, there's a drawing from the fire department explaining what the thought process is here. Basically, there's a map, and this would be the last. There is no more sirens that would be in the. There is none. There would be no more. Period. They want you to know that. What was happened is because most of this falls in Nunda Township, there's a map in here that shows, they actually went through on the GIS, counted all the number of houses in Nunda Township, and then they went and counted the number of houses in Mchenry Township, and that are fall in this siren range, and, there was 147 homes in Nunda Township, only 34 in Mchenry Township. So then that gives a total of 181 homes. So then they came up with a breakdown that Nunda would pay for 5/6 of it. They were asking if we would pay for a sixth, which is $1,290 to get this last siren. And again, they did come to me and say they didn't expect to be coming back to us, and they will never be coming back to us again because this is it. So I guess I need.
Well, can we? Could I have a question?
You certainly may.
When they were here before,
Mm-hmm.
they had not contacted, or there was no communication with Wonder Lake.
Correct.
There's. Does anybody know the number of houses that will not be covered by not having Wonder Lake?
I do not have that information, but I can offer something to that. Being that some of you are from Wonder Lake, maybe you can give me some assistance. I talked to 2 fire board members in Wonder Lake, Barb Clausen and Mrs. Hammerhand. Their opinion was there's no money and they can't do it. But maybe someone could, from one of you guys, could contact whoever is the president of that board. I'm not sure who that is. And see, I'm in agreement with you. I think we should help them also. But we've got to get them on board, and so far I haven't been able to do that.
My understanding was it was a different fire district.
It is.
That's the reason it wasn't included.
That's correct. But the guy that was here, Rudy, said he would be happy to go to Wonder Lake and provide all his expertise to them and show them how to do this. He has no problem with that. So I don't know how to get Wonder Lake interested, so maybe one of you gentlemen has more connections there to do that.
So there is a possibility that if Wonder Lake were to jump on board, there would be another.
I'm sorry, yes, I was talking McHenry Fire Township District, there will be no more from them. If Wonder Lake would like to jump on board, I think my personal opinion is that we should also help them because they're part of McHenry Township. We can't afford, I don't feel we could afford whole costs, but if we could work out some kind of split with all the governments involved there, I think we should do that, but I'm not getting anywhere with my efforts, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Why isn't this covered by the state? You know, some of the information you gave us says it got 750,000 visitors.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're not paying for this, the Moraine Hills, I didn't explain that, I'm sorry.
I can tell you about it.
Okay, Jim would know.
The tornado siren is, the total cost is $23,221. 1/3 of it is being paid by them, the department. The other third is being paid by the district, and there was that remaining 1/3 that was being divided between Nunda and McHenry, which was the 5616, so it worked out to $1,290 of the $23,221. It's my understanding that the district's working with Moraine to get a license easement agreement in order to put a pole and use their property as far as putting the siren up. So that's all I know.
The state, to answer your question about it and explain it, the state through the Illinois Department of Natural Resources was going to contribute the majority of the money.
But why don't they take it all?
I can't answer that.
That's what gets me, it's a different diamond as far as I'm concerned.
I understand.
I couldn't believe when I saw the 750,000 visitors, and I looked at that, and they come up there.
Well, I guess the rationale was because it's not all visitors, I understand what you're saying, but there's some houses in each of these townships.
But what couldn't they give us a gift?
Well,
if we turn it down, okay, do you think it would still go through? From the, because I think it would. I think they'll pick it up. I don't see how, if from what I read that, if they're talking about 750,000 visitors, I feel like that they should pick the whole thing up.
I think if we turned it down, they would find a way to do it.
So I'm gonna be a no vote.
Okay.
I think they would do it too when I read those figures.
Do we want to? But we've done this in the past is my only concern. So.
Can I make a
Yes, you may, Mr. Beard.
I noticed the county itself wasn't included in the discussion.
That's a very good point. The county has never been included in the discussions for these fire signals, and I can't answer that question other than I guess it's considered, I don't know.
But there's an emergency, there's a whole emergency system that they get federal funds from.
You are correct.
For this. And the other thing, that question is, isn't the Fire Protection Township charged with doing it in the first place, statutorily?
I don't have the answer to that question.
Well, I can tell you that they are not required to do it. They're trying to cover all their constituents within the township in the fire district. And I think that's one of the issues what Wonder Lake was having, is that they have a financial issue. They would like to have sirens, but they can't afford to have sirens. But it would fall within the fire protection district in order to have sirens if they do want to put sirens up. But they'd also have to work with private organizations, other municipalities, townships, to have those types of agreements in order to place them, as they don't have ownership of those properties.
And the idea was for all governments, you're right, I don't know why the county wasn't involved, but for all governments to cost share, so, you know, it would be cheaper for the residents altogether, is the idea, so any further discussion on this then at this point?
Well, I would like to make a comment.
Okay, go right ahead.
I'm extremely, maybe to the point of being radically pro-life, and I believe that separating the possibility of losing somebody's life for $1,200 is just simply not worth it. So my vote will be yes.
Okay, I appreciate that sentiment. Any other comments? All right, I guess we'll have a vote on this matter. May I have a motion to have a vote?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Rakestraw to have a vote on the matter, and so we will be clear. The vote, a yes vote would be to give $1,290 is what they would consider our share toward this last siren in Mchenry Township. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Mr. Wojcicki. Let's have a roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
No.
Okay, Mr. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams would be a yes. Mr. Wojcicki?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Beard?
Yes.
Okay. So we have 4 yeses and 1 no. The motion carries. We will execute an intergovernmental agreement with them and take care of this. Thank you, gentlemen. And I do think public safety is important.
The problem is that the township becomes the catch-all for all kinds of things that are being done by governmental organs that actually are charged with the responsibility of doing these things.
Okay, your comment is noted. All right, we're on to proposed agenda items for next month's meeting.
I would like to have something on there that we could bring up for some discussion, and I don't think I'm looking for action this time, but at least some discussion of what I brought in about looking for a cost-benefit study that would be shared with the townships and the county board, and at least find out where the rest of the board is on that, and see how we can move forward on that.
Okay, I'm kind of confused. Didn't we just discuss, but we didn't talk about?
Well, we didn't take any action on it. Do we want to take action on it? It wasn't on the agenda.
Do you want to put possible action that we?
We're good with possible action on it, yeah, but I think I'd like to see it get on the agenda though, but I think we need to at least discuss it to see where the rest of the board members are on that, and maybe get some of the county board members here at that meeting.
Okay.
But if it's on the agenda, I think I could do that.
Okay.
Could you repeat that?
What is, no, we don't.
Cost action for what? Study for what?
He's talking about
Okay, I'll read what was in the minutes, okay? And this is what I'd like to have on the agenda for discussion. Consideration on sending a request to the Mchenry Township requesting that they conduct a cost-benefit study to determine the financial outcomes of consolidating the McHenry County townships from 17 to 8 or fewer, and sharing the costs with all townships. In other words, the county 3 years ago was involved with doing that. They were gonna put some money in there, but I think we got the 17 townships. And at that time, the law said that you could only go 17, but you can go down fewer than that. There's been a change in law of how you can change the consolidation. But I think we need consolidation to something. I think we need to look into that situation and see what the benefit is that. And if the county at that time, they were willing to spend some money, but they backed off on it because they didn't, the vote was like 13-9 to move forward on that. So I think we just need to move forward on that.
I'm a little confused because I understand what your question is, but did we not send them all a letter asking them to do this?
But we didn't include the others. I would like to hear from the other 17 townships. We haven't heard from them.
I can help you on some of that, by the way, because that was something that was brought up at the last meeting, correct?
Yes.
I did talk to Greenwood. I talked to Richmond. I've talked to Burton. I did not talk to Heber because they just got a new supervisor and I don't have I couldn't get a hold of her at this point in time. Greenwood is, at this point, is not interested. Richmond and Burton said at some point in time they may be, but what's going on there right now, and this will make you happy, Bob, they're having very preliminary discussions on those two townships merging. And they said it's very preliminary at this point in time, but they're looking at that. And they don't want to take on anything more than that at this point in time. So I guess what I can tell you is, of those townships you told me, other than one that I haven't talked to, they're not interested right now. Okay.
Yeah. Well, what I like to do is get it on the agenda and go from there. And I believe at that time I suggest that we do send a letter and get at least a reply in writing back from each township explaining.
I can't make them give me a reply.
Well, but I would think if an elected board sends a letter to an elected body, I would think that they would, you can't make them, but I would like to think they would actually do that.
Okay.
You're saying send a letter to all 17 townships.
Oh, you're saying all 17?
Exactly.
Okay.
All 17.
Oh, okay.
I would certainly hope that if this board got a letter from any other elected body, that we would answer that letter.
I was misunderstood. You want to send a letter to all 17?
All
Okay.
17.
Okay, I get it now. Okay.
And then and also we would have a letter go to the county board chairman, and
Okay.
I think we need to get it to the supervisors and the county board chairman.
Okay.
And with them to find out where we stand.
I further understand now. Okay, yes, I have no problem with the agenda. Is everybody else, let's have a motion about it to do that.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Do you want me to repeat what I
Yeah,
said
if you
there?
could, please.
Or should I just give it to Dan?
You just give it to Dan, but you need to
I can repeat it.
repeat it once.
Okay, I'll repeat it. Okay, here's what I'm making this motion. A motion for consideration on sending a request to the McHenry County Board requesting that they conduct a cost-benefit study to determine the financial outcomes of consolidating the McHenry County townships from 17 to 8 or fewer, and sharing the cost with all 17 townships.
The county sharing the cost of the township.
Well, the cost of the study. The cost of the study.
Cost of the study.
Yeah.
But also
How they'd break that down, I'm sure they would break it down just like we did about the siren.
but
Okay.
there's nothing in your proposal that mentions anything asking the other 17 townships.
No, he is. That's what he's asking me right now.
No, you said to send a letter to the county, not the townships. That's what you read there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, okay, and he's right about that. That was not what I originally had to know, but
You send it to the county and the townships.
Send a letter to the townships, to the 17 townships.
Along with the 17 townships.
Actually 16.
16.
Other towns.
We're not gonna send a letter to ourselves.
One thing also I think you might want to add to this is based on population, with the townships sharing the cost based on population.
No, I'm sure that would come out, that's what I said.
So I think that's what should be in your motion.
I think that's fair. I mean, think
Okay.
Because the smaller township can't afford what I.
Okay, so, okay, so, Mr. Carter.
Can you kind of incorporate that one more time so we make sure we get this right?
Why don't I just give that to you afterwards? Why don't you?
We can't do it.
No. Okay, so have it worded in there that that the cost of the study would be shared by the 17 townships, and the cost be broken down on the size shared with the size. How do you call it?
By the population of each township.
By population each township.
Can you email it to me?
I can, yeah.
Okay, I think we've got,
Can I offer another suggestion too? Instead of the population, as there may be some confusion as what that population may be, maybe you use the, whether it's assessed value or equalized assessed value, or,
I think that's
or the levy amount for those townships,
That's
so
probably
that
better.
you may have one township that has a levy higher than another township, so you use the,
a
levy,
percentage of the levy.
the proportionate amount based on the levy.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? So that's,
How do I get to my motion here? It's already chopped up now.
Bob, is this,
Why don't I do this?
can you rewrite that motion, bring it back? How's
What,
that?
I'll bring it to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, that makes it.
I'm gonna withdraw that motion,
Okay.
and then I'll talk to you later about how we put that in there.
Beautiful.
So I'm gonna withdraw that motion for
Okay.
next meeting.
Thank you, and then we'll relook at it next week. Okay, thank you.
Go on.
That'll make it much clearer. Is there any other proposed agenda items for the next meeting at this point in time?
Yes,
Yes, Mr. Beard.
as I understand it, the budgetary bills that we're supposed to pay, the reimbursements, it only comes 48 hours before the meeting.
Mhm.
Now, this one is over 100 pages.
Mhm.
If you want the backup material, that's not included in any of the packet, so you have to actually physically come to the township to see what these bills and reimbursements and requests and so on
Mhm.
go back to.
Mhm.
So it's unrealistic and it's unreasonable. We should at least have a week. And the backup material should be available.
The backup material is available, it's here, you could look at it any time. We're not gonna, it would make our packet even 10 times bigger. You're free to look at it any time, that's just my opinion.
Well, actually you can't, because you don't really know exactly what line item things go to.
It,
Okay.
no, it's marked on each of the invoices, so you would.
We're supposed to be transparent, or not.
Anybody can come into the township anytime and look at those invoices, anybody.
Well, the time limitation is too small.
But there's a simple solution,
Okay, what's the simple solution?
is to move our meetings back 1 week and get the information to us.
You mean, you can't move it back, we have to go forward.
Well, I mean, move it to a week later.
Okay, let me double check, we can do that, okay, but just so you're aware, there's going to be, because of the Illinois Prompt Payment Act, I have to pay every bill within 30 days, okay? That's what some of those bills are paid prior to August. That means, and I'm not objection to this, that means that we would be closing the books, earlier, obviously. And then I'm gonna have a lag over here, which is gonna give me more time where I'm gonna have to pay bills ahead of time. If that's acceptable, I don't have a problem with it.
Well, I kind of asked that same question about the time frame of having this information, several months ago, maybe 8 months.
Right, it's,
But I'm just saying that there's the person that we need to.
well, yeah, we really do, because she's the one that actually has to close the books. Debbie, could you advise us, please, if we would move our meeting forward another week to the third Thursday, that would be correct?
Yes.
So if I can't move it to the third Thursday, maybe we'll look at a different day. But if we move the meeting ahead, we could close the books like we do now, correct? We could provide the information earlier, but it wouldn't be up to date. It would be, because the meeting's a week later, all that new stuff that comes in.
Right, so you won't have accurate to-date financials.
Right, right now you have accurate to-date financials. Those are the actual financials. And if you don't care, I don't care.
And you would probably have more bills that are paid prior, so you would have to change
Right,
how that is done.
right. Because if there's a statute that says we have to, unlike the state of Illinois,
Right. for
we have to pay our
contractual
bills in 30
services.
days.
Why can't Illinois do that?
I agree.
Or the federal.
It would change some of the, the financials for sure.
Mr. Adams,
Yes,
can I be recognized, please?
yes, you may, Mr. Khan.
Isn't it true that every previous trustee, 48 hours before the meeting, within that last 2 days, made an effort to come here and go through every single one of the bills?
Yes, they did.
Thank you.
Yes. This
But-
will be the first time that we don't have that.
So I guess, I can't do the third Thursday, I have another meeting, so, it's related to township, so we would have to, it couldn't be the third Thursday, we'd have to pick a different day. So.
Mr. Adams, can I be recognized?
Yes, you may be recognized again, Mr. Khan.
Don't we have to post our meetings at the beginning of the year?
Yes.
And so it wouldn't
We
be able to be
wouldn't be
changed,
able
at
to
least
change
not
it
this
at
year?
this point unless we would have to then
You could
post
still change it.
whatever
No.
change is made.
We could change it, but we'd have to make notice.
Yes, we have to post it.
We have to make
I'll
notice.
post it.
So,
It will change your financial records though.
they will not be up to date, they will
No.
be lagging.
Debbie, if you were to give our final report of what was spent 1 week before the meeting, and then update something in the packet.
We
It's
can't-
not gonna match.
We can't do that.
You can't do that because of the way you have to close the books. I wouldn't be able to do that.
It's an accounting thing, we can't do it that way.
Right. Once you close it, then that information, certain journals and whatever would not be there. I don't know if you would understand all the accounting part of it. It would change your numbers. And you won't have accurate, up-to-date numbers. But we can push it out that extra week.
As long as you realize that you're not gonna get the, there's gonna be a little lag in there, a little.
You're gonna have a lag in it.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for years.
And it's gonna increase the pay prior. So you were gonna have to give approval to pay other bills ahead of time without seeing them first.
That's less of an off.
Well, Mr. Adams,
Yes, Mr. Griffin.
we're already paying out bills in advance of actually examining them or even auditing, right?
Those are utilities, credit cards, and anything that's on revolving credit.
Those are, only so, because the state of Illinois says we have to pay those bills within 30 days.
And that's exclusive to those type of bills.
Correct.
So they're being paid before the board even authorized.
Correct. That's, the board already has that set.
We have a policy that allows that.
Any kind of utility bills or whatever get paid prior.
And we can't not do that.
Disrupt service.
Can't, not.
I'm sorry, that's a double negative. We have, according to the statute, Mr. Motel can further inform us on that.
Yeah, there is the prompt payment statute. I can get it and forward it to the trustees so you have it. You may wanna, and Mr. Beard has brought up a point about moving the meeting. If you want, I can circulate the Prompt Payment Act with everybody, and then if the board wants to think about it for a month and bring, talk about what that might look like.
Right, and I
from
can
a-
get more specific information on how the accounting would change and what actual numbers would change for them. I
Sure.
can put that together.
So at least the board can make an informed decision as
Right.
far as
I can do that.
how it is now, how it would be, what would be the best for the board.
Right, I can do that.
I'm good with that. Okay, we'll look into it, come back at the next meeting with some more information. How's that?
I can do that.
Okay. All right. Is there any more proposed agenda items for the next meeting? Okay, none being heard?
Well, actually, there aren't any proposed yet.
I'm sorry.
That wasn't.
I guess we have none
No, there's no proposed.
There are none proposed.
Yeah,
so-
I'm gonna come back next one for proposal, because I haven't got it together.
Right, okay, great. So we don't,
There's nothing proposed.
there's nothing proposed at this time, which is fine, okay. Supervisor's report, you have my park report, my general assistance report, and my senior center report in your packets. As you can see, and this is normal, our bus usage goes our senior center and our bus usage goes up in the summer months here, because, you know, we have a lot of snowbirds that are seniors and they utilize those services in the summer because they're here more than they do in the winter months. Any questions regarding those reports? Okay. None being heard. We're going to move on to the assessor's report.
Our 2018 assessments have been into the county already for about a month, and we've just received back questions that they have on our numbers. It's a typical procedure. We turn the numbers over to the county and they go through them, and before they're published, they make sure everything is done accurately. We have actually already answered all of those questions this week, and we hope to have the county publish the assessments by the end of the month. Just to be clear, I don't have any control over that publication date that comes from the county. But once we know the date, the notices will be mailed. We will again do some extended hours in the evening and on some weekend days to assist people who can't get into the office during regular business hours. The township has said we will be expecting to get our positive 6.55% increase. That's the township factor that will be applied to every property in the township. That number is a number that comes from the state that is intended, it tells the difference between where sale prices are and where properties are assessed, and ideally it's supposed to put all properties in a third of market value. So again, we hope to be published by the end of the month, and then the 30-day appeal time would start. I just want to give an update on a new law that was passed recently. It was signed, and it's in regard to a disabled veteran exemption. These exemptions, typically all exemptions take effect as of January 1 of the assessment year, and this law makes a change that allows a veteran to get that exemption to start the month after they purchase a property. So just to explain, if you buy a home in June of 2018 and you are entitled to this exemption, typically you have to wait until 2019 to start getting that exemption. This law now allows the person who is eligible for this exemption to start that exemption to apply starting. They buy it in June, it would start in July. So if you are, there are about 109 exemptions in this township where veterans that are more than 70% disabled pay no property taxes. So if they buy a home in the middle of the year, typically they'd have to wait till the next year to not pay taxes. What this law does is allows them to not pay taxes from the month after they purchase the home. So again, that would be a reduction in, it would be a shift to everyone else to pick up that portion of the taxes. So that's a brand new law, and because it is a law, I will be lobbying against it in Springfield, which is pretty much what you have to do if you want to get a law changed. Other than that, that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
I have a question. You mentioned the exemption for disabled, but did you mean just disabled veterans, or is it all disabled?
Disabled veterans.
Just disabled veterans.
Correct.
Okay.
So the difference is that every other exemption that's that is a law, they all start as of January 1. So if you buy your home January 2nd, you don't get the homeowner's exemption until the next year. This law now pushes forward that exemption to, again, give a break where they don't pay those taxes from the time they are in the home. So it's just, in my opinion, just not, it's not treating it like other exemptions, and that all started on January 1. So, just to give you a heads up.
What if the veteran is only 50% disabled?
Same thing, their exemption starts, it would be prorated. A 50% veteran who's 50%, 50 to 69% disabled gets 5,000 assessed value taken off their assessment. So there's still a reduction, it's just any disabled veteran exemption would go into effect a month after they purchase a property and live in it.
So what's the lowest disability percentage that you get some type of reduction in the property tax?
30%.
And how much is that?
It's $2,500. And that's assessed value, so $2,500 off the assessed value. So with a 10% tax rate, that's about $250. The biggest impact is going to be from the ones that are 100%, 70 to 100% disabled and don't pay any taxes. That's where we'll see the biggest shift.
But that only counts for the residents they're living in, right? Not multiple properties.
No, owner-occupied property.
Now, when someone is 65, they're also entitled to a reduction, right?
There's an automatic, well, you have to apply for it, but there's an exemption if you are, anyone on title is 65 can get the senior exemption, which reduces your assessment by $5,000.
And is that one of these January 1st onward then?
Yes.
So, once you're on, you don't have to reapply every year, do you?
Not for the senior exemption. The disabled veteran, you do have to apply every year. And the senior freeze, because that's an income-based exemption. And the disabled veteran one is based on a letter from the VA stating their percentage of disability. So that's a yearly application as well.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, any other questions for the assessor? Okay. None being heard, we'll move on to the Highway Commissioner's report.
I think you got my written report. Just briefly go through it again. Non-dedicated roads set by the county that have applied, there have not been any more, and I don't believe there will be any in the near future. So those subdivisions should be aware. Subdivisions such as Woodlawn, Shorewood, North Boulevard, Fegers, etc. The county, I don't believe, is going to bring them into their non-dedicated subdivision road program in the near future. Road programs, this year we completed our township paving program, we completed our Ringwood paving program, and we are currently going through the Lincoln Road upgrading paving program with the city of Mchenry. Again, that's under their jurisdiction. We are just participating in the contract from a financial standpoint and then addressing any issues that are within the township itself. We completed our reclamite treatment for our areas that were paved last year, and also our crack seal in various areas throughout the town, or the township. Indian Ridge, again, we are done with sections 1, 2, and 3 and working on section 4. That should be done by winter time, and hopefully a little sooner than it was last year. Also in sections 1, 2, and 3, we created a punch list of areas that need some additional attention, so they will be back out there taking care of some of those areas. The IGA, we have had preliminary conversations with the county about continuing the maintenance of their non-dedicated subdivision roads that are located in Mchenry Township, and I believe tomorrow they are dropping off an IGA agreement to pay us $6,000 a mile, and for the next year from November, I think it's November or December 1st, I think it's November 1st, through October 31st of the next year. So we have come to an agreement on that. I have not gotten any feedback on accepting 3 different groups of roads, as I mentioned last time, for a price of $256,000 per mile. I'm not sure why they're not acting on that. I have not gotten any feedback. Monthly recycling program, again, you see our totals there and how the success of the event. We do not have one this month because of Touch a Truck this coming Saturday, and I invite you all to attend and bring family members, especially the younger family members. If you have any grandchildren or anything, I think they truly enjoy it. Our salt dome is almost complete. There's a few minor things that they need to do. In addition to that, we'll be out there repaving that area, regrading and paving that area over the next week. We've completed our mowing for the season. You'll notice one thing that we've done different in a lot of the rural areas, we did not mow the back slope of the ditch. We've left that vegetation grow until the springtime with the hopes that that will provide some wind barrier or buffer as it relates to drifting of the snow in those rural areas. So we'll be evaluating that in the future as we move forward. We completed our roadway striping as of yesterday, or actually I believe it was the day before. So we're good there, we're done with that. I wanted to mention that we have quite a few non-dedicated roads in the township, and one of the things that has been an issue in the past is trying to find ways to assist those non-dedicated roads. We are creating a program, or moving forward with trying to create a program with 3 different options. One is that those non-dedicated road systems can continue the way they are, to remain private. They can continue to collect MFT funds and road and bridge funds and do the upgrading of their roads themselves. The next option is, if they choose and would like to work with us, we will assist them in their maintenance or their upgrading of their roads through paving and things like that. And if the roads are upgraded enough, we will actually do some of the plowing maintenance for them. We just need to be able to get our equipment up and down those roads. But we will not, that program would not turn it over to the township. They would not be required to dedicate right-of-way, and we would not be solving any existing drainage problems. That's one of the issues right now with the non-dedicated roads, is they're giving up a right-of-way and the existing drainage problems that are there. Once they become ours, then there are a problem. The last one would be actually upgrading the road to acceptable standards to the township, dedicating the right-of-way and taking care of improvements. So we'll make those options available to them and the different funding sources for each of those. So hopefully we'll have some success with that and get the non-dedicated roads out of the road maintenance business for those that want to be out of it. So, again, tomorrow or Saturday we have our Touch a Truck 10 to 2. Last year we had over 2,000 visitors, and I suspect we'll have the same thing this year. The weather is supposed to be beautiful. So if you're not doing anything, please come out and enjoy it. It is a really enjoyable day. A lot of neat equipment, a lot of vendors here that enjoy coming out and sharing their equipment and showing it off. One of the things that we're starting to do is trying a different type of vegetation in our right-of-way, converting some of our areas from just normal grass, Kentucky bluegrass, like a lot of our right-of-way is, and turning it back to prairie grass and prairie flowers. The benefits to that, we're doing in a couple different locations. The benefits to that obviously are reduced cost in mowing, water quality improvements and runoff improvements, and then similar to what we're doing with some of our banks on our ditches, the drifting improvements. There's also some environmental benefits, and one of them is providing habitat for pollinators, for bees and butterflies and things like that. So it's something that we started doing this past spring. I know the county also is implementing some of that, so obviously we're on the right track there, so it's kind of nice to see that. That's all that I have. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. But otherwise, that's all I have.
With the allowing the grass to grow, Is there any kind of a factor on north-south roads on doing one side and not the other?
Generally speaking, you would leave the west side of the road and the north side of the road are the sides that we would not mow that back slope. We do have some other areas though, it seems like some areas, all of a sudden we'll get the winds out of the east and things like that, so that I think they actually did select a couple spots to leave it that way also. And we'll see how it works. The vegetation may not be tall enough to make a big difference, but hopefully it'll help with the nuisance drifting that you see. We won't have to chase people out to take care of that.
Any other questions from the road commission? Okay, that being said, moving on to the agenda, executive session. I don't have a reason for one. All right, at this point in time. Board member comments.
Well,
I'm sorry?
I think we do need to have an executive session. I think we do need to have an executive session to go over litigation and the propriety of the October 1st special township meeting. So I have a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second it. And for purposes of the record, let it reflect for pending litigation regarding case 18 MR 643.
First of all, did we have, Mr. Vera made a motion, do we have a second to the motion?
I second.
You second the motion? Okay, we'll call the question. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, sure, yes. Mr. Wojcicki?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Vera is a yes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We'll go to executive session. Gentlemen, we'll recess this meeting at 8:10, and we'll return after our executive session.
Okay.
I'm sorry? 8:08, okay, excuse me, 8:08.
When you come back, you're not gonna have any comment about anything except just to dismiss, right?
Well, we will have public comment because we have a done.
Oh, no, I mean, as far as you're not making any comments though regarding your executive session or anything?
Oh, probably not.
Never do.
No.
Mr. Adams, can I ask trustees, would they object if I attended the executive session?
I object.
Of course.
I don't think you see any reason why you should be either.
Okay, Mr. Wojcicki has no problem, I have no problem.
I would like to have Debbie
Debbie,
and
in the executive session?
Why?
That's not, for what purpose, I guess?
just, we have to.
I don't have, I'm recording. Oh. What do we rule? Why is there a motion? Do we have a motion first of all? Well, the motion don't wait. Yeah. It's, you gotta vote to go into
She
the.
can do that.
Maybe you could give us an explanation for why.
I would go into executive
I
session.
have my glasses. Oh, well, my glasses.
Because it relates to topics that are related to the road district, if I want to be involved.
Now, there you go.
Well, I think we have two, I think we need a third person.
He's always gonna make it longer.
You'll find anything to argue about. Who's attorney?
Call the chief and then have a motion.
decision outside of the meeting, didn't they?
Yes.
Yes, they did. They had a motion.
What?
You said motion outside the meeting. You had on in there. That doesn't count. I'll just use this opportunity to deliver my FOIA request.
Oh, that's okay. Little love messages.
Oh, I should have.
Dan, I need to make a copy. Did Debbie go in?
No, I don't know.
Make a copy or
I
something?
don't know if they need to make it.
It's double-sided, Joe.
Uh-oh.
Tell them it's double-sided.
She did. I don't know why that's in executive session. I think that should be in the public. What's that? You object to that.
Yeah, that's not a legal matter.
That's not a legal matter. It shouldn't be. They got no one tell them.
You might not remember it when it's back there.
She told me that's what's I don't care. Well, lawsuit's one thing, but they talk about that, but then the other part, that would be really. August.
Yeah.
And he's not gonna be discussed.
Very important.
Well, I think it's just because there was such a good turnout at the special meeting.
I think at the last meeting, everybody was upset with the approach of Von Emery. He didn't pass out peanuts enough for everybody. And they don't. No, he didn't.
That was the
But
problem.
that
That made a
was
problem.
a
That was the problem. Bob in the chair.
And they look good too.
Whether they even have a discussion about it, should be poo-pooed by. That's why you don't pay no taxes. He's a lawyer, it better occur to him. Because when they come out here, if nobody else is gonna ask, did you discuss that October 1st meeting?
Yeah, Malthoff is gonna.
It shouldn't come from me, you should.
Senator, let Craig Wilcox slide in.
We were going to set up the drinking liberally.
Because you know that they're all discussing.
Yeah, it's a shoe-in for Wilcox to do that. And I don't believe that's right to do
Well,
that.
it's a mistake too.
Yes, but, and I'm a Republican, and I voted for him, but I don't like
I'm
this.
going someplace. She's got an idea. I know what her.
Oh, she's gonna go to the county board.
So she's got some.
She was elected to do the job in a certain time.
Exactly, that's my point.
But she's gonna quit 2 months before the end.
See, that's what Craig Adams, people don't know that, but Craig Adams slid into that position before the election. And all of them do that. And the whole
And
thing
then
is.
the trustees ran against doing that. And then Steve.
Yeah. I don't know. I have been coming to these meetings for years. I used to be the only person sitting here for many years, many years. And now these people have come along, and all of a sudden there's an attraction.
Yes, I understand.
I just moved here in October, and as soon as I got settled, I started showing up.
Yeah, I sat here by myself for many years.
I'll let you other decide first.
The only people that were coming in were
I should give you a
people
check.
that were cash.
Oh, you don't think that's true.
Oh, I wanted roads and there, roads and there. Those are those people that are coming in.
Thank you. Did they have a shit how much when you want that?
Actually, you know, it's a funny thing. All of the trustees were able to do, go over all of
Thank you,
those,
Jim.
everything, within a couple of days. And these guys can't do that.
Now it's a big job.
Are they that stupid? I mean, is this a point of
I
intelligence?
don't think it's stupid, I think it's, laziness.
It's a plan of chaos. They want to add more chaos, more disorder, more destruction to the township in order to facilitate their agenda of consolidation.
Well, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt by not saying something.
Well, I think it's, they're
Take, it's kind of hard to get people to say, no, we should get rid of that. Like, turn it like chaos. I don't know if it's. Yeah, we should get rid of that.
It's just like what Gasser's doing in Algonquin Township with that,
Well, you know better than I do, I just know everybody else.
absolutely.
What he's doing really is, maybe the way he's going about it, but the end goal there, I don't think, I don't know that there's really that same exercise.
There is, he came in with that objective.
What's,
You have to look at something, when you have, whether or not you believe that the contract was valid or not, the contract was in place. You can't just fire the union guys. Within hours of taking off for no reason, and not expect that to just turn into a quagmire of a court case.
But you should be able to just fire people at will.
That's, no, because there's a contract because of the union.
But there shouldn't be.
Why not?
Because one highway commissioner should be able to obligate another highway commissioner for his entire term of office to some extent.
There are, yes, there's plenty of precedent for unionization in those positions. There are plenty of townships where that's been, and those union contracts.
Those contracts shouldn't exist. Those contracts shouldn't exist. Union contracts shouldn't exist. It should be employment at will. The employer decides they no longer want your services, they should be able to fire you at any point in time for any reason.
The big problem that you have is that you run into a situation where you know, marketing power other than yourself. When you organize the group, that's how you get things like 5-day work week.
Yeah, but if you organize a group and you're always going to decide, if he fires this guy for no reason, we're no longer going to, we're always going to walk out and leave. If you have the power to do that, then you do that, but there should be nothing obligating the government or any employer to keeping people who they no longer want to employ.
There's a difference between walking out and leaving in a facility situation versus a union employee. Whereas you're walking out and doing a strike.
But there should be why should any employer be employees?
That's all part of that.
If they have reason to no longer employ them, they can.
They no longer
Why
should they be obligated to employ somebody they no longer desire to employ?
This is my observation. The statement because she moved down to their
Because no one should be obligated to employ somebody.
But he's talking about what they need to study. Where's the study?
They should be able to fully associate, and if they all decide, we don't like their employer is firing this guy, then they should all be able to say.
And I know that is anything that you would incur, any insurance or service charge.
But the current employer was not given the opportunity to get the site on, before he had the opportunity to. And so,
He died a couple of years ago. His wife Dorothy lives down there.
but
Right in the Bay Area.
due to the fact that they're
Half a block from
cyclical rate cyclical rate across the office.
Yeah,
It's
we
one
go
thing to say that,
Okay, between that.
it's,
See,
you
I've
can't say the same
only
thing
been
about
out,
a
out here
corporation.
30 years.
Can.
So I'm, like,
I would say that there should be no point where any corporation or any government body should
well,
be
actually,
obligated to
I
continue to
didn't
employ
know,
somebody that they no longer wish to
I've been
employ.
happy.
That it should be a completely equitable relationship.
See, that when you're acting as a highway commissioner, you're acting as the office, you're acting not as the person. So that person
Harlem University, okay. I lived in Harlem.
across the street from me was a little park. So, that was the corner.
And I bought my first car at Circus Chevrolet right down there on University.
that there are other
Right there,
which is to sign contracts, simply because it extends.
No, my problem is with the contract that you signed. One, because it extends beyond the term of the next evaluation. before he was elected to, for whatever reason the voters voted for him. And so he should have the ability to run the office the way that they, that he would choose to run it. And it should be the same thing at any point, any contract.
In fact, I was
Department, when it changes hands, should be.
Well, then why hasn't he taken issue with any of the other contracts, such as the recycling disposal contract, or any of the other contracts that they have for maintenance of the vehicles?
Because he has
Only
chosen to
taking issue
do
with this one contract.
Well, if I would philosophically disagree with that contract, in that you should not be able to force somebody to continue to employ somebody. You should not be able to force somebody to not be able to
But you just
renegotiate rates on
said
a
you can't
regular
get
basis.
the issue with one person signing a contract and then it continuing over, but there has been no issue taken with the recycling contracts or the maintenance contracts.
He is choosing to want to continue those contracts.
Right, but that, if you can just break a contract because you no longer wish to carry on with it, we have invalidated the point of contracts entirely.
I know. But the contracts for an office like that should be based on term of office.
How you doing?
Still living.
I see that. Yes.
Came real close a few times these last few years. But I said, I'm gonna
A
make
school board
it.
can't choose to employ a superintendent for beyond the term of office of the people that are in office. So you can't, in the middle of the term, decide to sign a 10-year contract with the superintendent.
There are limitations on the length of contract, yes. And those contracts come up for cycle. And that contract with the union will come up for its next cycle.
But it's beyond, it's more than a
commissioner will have the opportunity to renegotiate that contract as it expires.
But it's
Maybe
beyond
not
the
at
end
the
of
start
term.
of his.
It's beyond the end of this term.
Is it?
It is.
It is.
It
I
is.
didn't.
It's a 5-year contract. Not a 4-year contract.
But that says you can't renegotiate the contract. You can always renegotiate. You can always attempt to renegotiate.
I don't see why you would take an issue with that contract versus another some of the other contracts, because that contract should not exist.
None of the contracts should exist by your side.
No, you can choose to continue those contracts.
No, but either the contracts are not, should not exist beyond the tenure of the existing elected official, or they should.
Work so
One
hard.
or the other, should or
Never
should.
hear anything
You can't
positive.
say that this contract, because I don't like unions, shouldn't exist beyond it, but this maintenance contract should.
The state law does set for most contracts a requirement that they are only, that they're a shorter term, so that towards the beginning of the term of a new elected official, they will expire. It's the way that the law looks at most contracts. Most contracts are written, so that they don't all expire. You know why?
Because unions are a powerful force.
Because unions put way too much money into politics.
No, unions are a powerful force.
Only in politics.
No. Do you disagree that unions have helped us in the past?
I think unions are beyond their use.
Then they, one question, one answer. One question, one answer.
The original
Do you disagree
is
that
sitting
unions
in
have
the
helped us in the past?
Unions were the method that accomplishing things. I think that
Who, me?
they
No,
would be
no, no, no,
Yes, I checked.
So, unions have in the past, will bring accomplishing things about in a better way.
Now tell me if you're gonna
start
help.
with the
Tell me
same
what?
time. Come in early.
If I'm filing. Yeah, I know, that's why I'm asking you. All right, so if this is
This is what we can do.
responsibility is to review the bills within the time required of the meeting, not disrupt the whole.
Just think about that in your response.
And then isn't it ironic?
So, as an individual,
Study.
you should
I mean,
be able to.
if all these townships were consolidated, but he did not follow the rule or the
There should be no,
That's what I'm
requirements
saying.
that anybody else is
There is a requirement.
Oh, then nobody can make it.
That's true. But unions can come to a, can force an organization to do something.
No, Bob's
They
words,
can't.
Bob's words, never me. He complained that his words are good.
You may not have a legal choice.
It's so bad, isn't it, Bob? But I told you.
You can't. Yes. You can't if they vote to unionize.
The original Bob, the copies to everybody. Well, you want it?
No, it's not.
I like it. And if you go to the
He just walked, you know,
They're all coming back. You gotta listen to them.
died and walked away.
he probably couldn't take it. He had to
Does Greg Wilcox live in
Well, you can choose to accept or you can choose to no longer be allowed into business.
I hear you. There is a
If
class.
your workforce chooses to do it, you can't.
So he's
You can't say this is not going to negotiate for stop there.
Well, there are, and he's got to prove it to the, he's got to prove it to the.
You and I used to do a lot of politics together when you used to have
Qualified as an employer, like, fire them all because they won't continue as on you.
Get that for tomorrow.
I know you talked to me out at Riverside Bakery before you were the elected, and you and I talked for a half hour in the rain and the cold, telling me how things were.
It doesn't make it hard to work respectfully. It doesn't make it hard to have.
And we did, we voted, we got you in all.
You can't just say, your workforce says they want to unionize, assuming
Somebody
your
has to
corporation
say
is
we
a certain
vote
size.
with that. That's where we were.
Wherever it is.
Hey,
But
Frank,
if they come in and
Why does the
unionize,
sign say
you have to allow them to unionize, and then they have to negotiate, then you have to negotiate with them. You can't just say, okay,
that sign says,
you're unionized.
I'm not for, I'm not for this, okay?
It's a law.
That's their play on words, see? But for their thing, it's consolidated.
But that's
it's not above.
Right, and that's what ours is.
I know, and that's what I, like, the drive me, and the people are being misled.
Well, don't worry, we got big ass.
That's, it doesn't have an actual go to.
Yeah.
But I should be free to do their business the way that I want it to stay. And if I have employees who
We're on camera.
And he's gonna be the CEO because Cameron's gonna quit.
regardless of what my previous employees wanted to.
It's gotta have a reason.
Put forward to,
So I should be able to train them.
Because
oh, he'll find
I have a
out.
conflict of
He doesn't know that.
There's two matters being
So it's okay. The IT workers are obligated to employees
No, he's,
because they've chosen to no longer work at that rate.
Of course, if they're talking about
Does it aggravate you that he's gonna slide in with
the upcoming meeting,
what do you think of your advantage?
that's not something that should be.
It's not like that somewhere and then vote.
It's not
For you.
litigation.
Immigrants don't make any difference.
It's not property acquisition. It's not.
And the reason I'm tasked with being
And she
do
should
you
be
know what
like
the cost of living is
when I was a camp.
in Mchenry County versus
I called her on the phone.
for labor? You know, the lowest on the pay scale is so they labor the lowest on the pay scale for a union makes $40 for laborers. Yes, laborers unions, it's $40.20 lowest on the pay scale. As far as all building trades.
I sent myself an email.
I sent myself an email.
But that's the lowest I'm asking. So if I, as a contractor, want to start doing something, want to hire a and pay them $39 an hour, and then those people decide that they want to unionize, and they sign cards, whatever, decide they're going to unionize, I can't say, well, there's other people that want to work at $39 an hour, I'll go hire them. You can't do that. Law says you can't. Is that fair labor? Even though there are people who like work at $39 an hour. Because they're working at the rate that they agreed to. If they no longer want to work at that rate, they should be able to walk away and go work for an employer. Whereas you shouldn't be obligated to pay them. You have no right to somebody else's resources. It's the shareholders' resources. So
This is an abolishing an individual clarification, not consolidation.
You do not have a right to those resources. Only the relation between an employer and an exchange. So the employer provides this many dollars for this many dollars.
Trust me. They're saying,
Yes, but we're exchanging dollars, these dollars, these dollars. There is but if they choose to, if they decide they don't want to take dollars, then
Unless it's on your property.
It's on your property, right.
Or
it's not a natural obligation. They have no natural obligation beyond the hours you put in.
He was learning, I met him, but the big guy, he corrected him, he gave him credit. And I put lattice on my deck.
But it's not because there's other workers. The employer does not
complain that my
necessarily have that employee.
three other people came out. We have a senior employee.
There's no necessity for them to continue to employ them. They can continue to exist. Because by obligating that it's not a symbiotic relationship. They don't depend on each other. Yes, they do. They don't.
Yes, they do. Thank you. The day you were campaigning,
without one employee, the company exists. The company can continue to exist by doing without them. It still exists. But that's what it I own a business that operates on
that's right. You know, the money. You know, we're ever out.
at this point, they choose not to. I could choose to employ this.
Because we were in a relationship with my father together. And well, we got a good, he did it, and we had, and this is out in Arizona.
The business does not have to have that employee. They can find a different employee.
Yeah, Dad and we were able to do the trade, and
the employer has no obligation to exploit them.
this was back in, East General, and somebody very, very, cars were broken down, they were in the middle of Arizona.
It is not a symbiotic
Way too far to walk anywhere. And I get and
but if it does not
people
want to,
pass me
or
up,
if it wants to
people pass
exist,
me up, and
will
they
they
go
defend
in,
it?
fast ones, small car, who's crowded. And and I said, there's a fire department over here, and that's where my dad and my father were trying to go. And I said, the casino, no, the fire department. Okay. So I went in, and I explained that my father was retired.
I know he's
And
But he has no obligation to his employees as a whole. He only has obligations to the employees as an individual.
And when we go back to
Because
and
it works,
so he took,
when you're talking to somebody, this is contract with your employer, you provide hours, they provide
and
hours.
so I told the story twice, and he goes, "Yes."
Because rights are
And
always.
so I got in the
You
truck
can
and
take your individual rights, you can
big
decide
truck,
to
not the fire truck, but his.
unite with
And
other
so
workers.
they went out.
And as long as you are individually committed to uniting, you know, as
I love kids.
you can
Put him in
work
the
together,
town.
but there is no,
I got it.
the employer does not have to recognize vendors and can take action against an individual. It is his right to contract between him and that individual. Get rid of that individual. If the rest chooses to say, no, it's not, or we don't need to, but that's like this is being detrimental to the business, that would be how but when the contract says, no, it is no longer
There was another time, and she went, and he went to go, and my brother-in-law.
It changes the extent from being between one person and being between
And
a
Billy
organization
drove,
and
we got
outside.
up, we got the wheelchair out, we got the oxygen out.
What is
But the way the union,
Whatever was going on, that time was okay.
the employer says, no,
The
I'm
oxygen,
firing you,
but we propped him up.
even if the rest of the union members don't care if he's fired,
And he won a jackpot,
he's
and she
still
took
on
somebody
the
away.
contract because state and federal law says he has to.
And then when Johnny came up, Johnny was there, then Johnny wasn't there yet. Johnny was there, and then his other brother came up.
No, that's how it
And
works.
so they wanted to go to the casino, and they wanted to go to the and so my mom, he passed away in May. So Buddy and I stayed at the house. And I had made an apple pie. My father was such a funny sense of humor. They all went, Buddy and I stayed. It worked out. And my brother and there's some other stuff that I did, but not that time. And so the next morning at breakfast, I said, Dad, Buddy's mine. I said, I saved it for you. That's okay, I said, I but my brother, it was fun. It was fun. That's okay, I stood on it. Yeah, we knew it wasn't gonna end. I was finally here. You know, this thing with Steve Beard is and he's at the journey. I don't
because the employer has no ability and when they once they decide, it changes the structure of the employer as employees because the employees no longer are.
I never watched one yet.
And that is represented by that contract and whatever bargaining council that go with that. So it no longer becomes these workers united, it becomes these workers are then under the control of this outside force. Whether it's because of their
and it's not fair to
then bound contractually to that contract. You don't want to settle it. So it changes the nature of the relationship.
I don't care if he wins or
We've been through a couple of those calls.
I worked for 50 years when I was young. My first job, I got into the beer bottle.
I'm not friends with her, but she's a good person. I might get better than you're doing too.
You know, 1982, they were taking too much money out of our checks.
See, our daughter, our son lives in Two Rivers, Wisconsin, up near Manitowoc. And so there's some distance there, but since John's been sick, he's always been amazing. But since Johnny's been sick, he's really good. But our daughter is right there, if I need her, all I gotta do is say something. And she's going through some tough times too. Her husband, and so they're having a tough financial.
Any wires, and we had to call 134.
Your beat card is like a perfect
Talking
example
out
of
through it.
the electricity beat card is a perfect
Our
example
grandson,
of union over
23,
If you're in a union Sunday, you need to be a union.
Rachel has been
light
engaged
bulbs, so the beat card is.
And those guys, the 134 guys, were taking
she and her sister live in a fiance, and they
or the outside sheet metal houses were local.
they moved in.
Anyways, I'm sorry.
The relationship changes because when you have just two people united together amongst themselves, they say we are connected to each other, united together. The employer can't choose to end that relationship with all of them.
Now, I helped her with a bunch of stuff.
They can't.
And so
The law says no.
she wanted, we wanted an excuse to get rid of it. And so we got one of them, she took her old one.
Yes, the relationship changes once it becomes official. They no longer can choose to say, I am no longer going to
you know, he's not involved in anything.
I have no obligation to give you any more of my assets. I can just keep my assets and I can choose to use my resources as I feel.
Oh, forget it. They took too long. Steve took too long. So you've been buying Ryan a whole bunch of groceries.
They should be able to fully associate,
Yeah, not tonight.
and if they want to put together an organization to represent them, if they want to put together an organization to represent them, they should be able to do that, but there should be no obligation of the employer to recognize that organization beyond his desire to continue to employ those employees.
Your oxygen was running low, she couldn't stay in. You too, thanks.
If he
Take care.
doesn't want to, he shouldn't be forced.
Yeah.
And you won't hear any disagreement from me.
Well, and even if he signed a contract with the union to pay a certain wage rate for the next so many years, if they no longer are meeting his expectations, or if he just decides he no longer wants to employ them, he should be able to no longer employ them. But as long as he wants to employ them during that time period, he should be required to pay them that rate.
But the contract has a time limit. That's what a contract is. So in order to break that contract, there would have to be some penalties for the employee. Otherwise, the contract carries no.
Because the contract, the collective bargaining agreement does not ever say in there that you have to provide, or generally does not say you have to have these employees work this many hours. You know, there is no requirement because you can lay employees off and things like that. So there is no requirement to continue those employees working.
But if he wants to bring it, once he signs, okay, so we're working in a fantasy world where we both agree that an employer should be able to sign or not sign the contract. But just to kind of lay the groundwork. So we're working in that fantasy realm where the employer has the ability to either sign or not sign the contract with the union, okay?
Yep.
So when you sign a contract, it's for X number of years.
Correct.
Let's say 5 years, right? A 5-year contract with the union. Because that's a contractual obligation, if the employer during that 5 year span, let's say, just for sake of ease, you're 2.5, they decide they want to break that, right? Then we have a penalty, just as if the employees decided that without clauses that are in the agreement, you know what I mean? It's different if that's.
Right.
It's different if there's clause in the agreement that says that these guys are no longer doing the work. They are in breach of the contract.
Have a good night.
You know, that's a thing, that's parts of contract, because a contract is an agreement, formalized agreement between two parties in order to exchange things, right?
And
So, you sign a contract and you buy a house, because you're signing that contract saying, I'm gonna give you this much money, and you're gonna give me the property. If either party doesn't live up to that, they're in breach of contract, and then the other one can dissolve it because of it. So the same thing would come down to it, is that
that's a lot,
that is a lot, that's a contract that said the employer will employ us for 5 years. And on the other side of it, the union will employ competent workers for that time period.
The wording of the contract is not that they will continue to employ you for those 5 years. It's that they will continue to pay your workers this rate per hour for those 5 years.
They will continue to employ union members for that 5 years. For all positions that are required.
So that's typically not part of the contract.
No,
What is the way it's enforced? Yes.
We're working in that fantasy realm.
So you're like the middle.
So in that situation, as long as the union holds that work portion of supplying.
As long as that is what the employer agrees to, and that's what the union, that's the agreement they come to, then that's fine. But currently, by law, the employer doesn't have the opportunity to not have that as part of the contract.
Right, that was the point of laying out that fantasy realm. And the point of me laying out that fantasy realm was to get to the point that even in that perfect, little fantasy place that we made, you can't, the employer can't just walk away without consequence.
In that situation, yes.
Yeah, because that's how contracts work.
But the thing is, there's outside factors right now in the law that don't allow you to structure the contract in that way, so it's actually fair to the employer.
Yes. We found agreement.
If we have to sign those papers.
And I said,
read off, the things you read off. Don't leave right away when it's in.
Yeah, but I abstained from all those.
Yeah, he
Oh, that's right, oh, you're, oh, that's
Yeah. What about there? A little after 6? Is that too late? Are we going to be up for the entire game? When does it start?
All right, everybody here? Okay, I'd like to reconvene this regular board meeting at 9:49. Is that okay, Dan?
8:49.
I'm sorry, 8:49, excuse me.
Feels
Feels like 9:49, okay. With that, we're to board member comments. Were there any board member comments at this time? Okay, none being heard. Move on to, is there any other public comment? I have Carol Persky who wanted to have.
Can I reinstate my?
Yes, you may, but you need to go to the podium.
Yes, sir.
And state your name and residence.
All right. Carol Persky, 5114 Northwestwood Drive, Mchenry, unincorporated. I left on your desk, since I could not answer any questions, I left in front of everybody a Freedom of Information request directed to Mr. Anderson. You've got the original, everybody else has a copy for your files, including the clerk and supervisor. I have 2 comments tonight, just observations of tonight's board meeting. Part of the Board of Trustees' responsibility, I was a former trustee, part of the board's responsibility is to review the bills within the time prior to the meeting so as not to disrupt the accounting process. And secondly, I find it ironic that Mr. Anderson is talking about a study of the effect of consolidation of townships and willing to split the cost with the county and other townships, but wouldn't do the own one what he was directed to do by the voters. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other public comment? Yes, sir, please go to the podium, name and address, or name and residence.
My name is Mike Dollar, I live in Wonder Lake. There was a little piece that was read after the first comment before the second public comment, before the meeting, or at the beginning of the meeting there, that said that we're not allowed as public speakers, as public commenters, to make attacks or anything else like that. I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and I feel that the board is using its bully pulpit, or at least members of the board are using its bully pulpit to make attacks at another member of the board. And I believe that that is inappropriate. And I'm talking about this, writing a letter to the state to get laws changed about what positions can be held and what cannot, with a specific target, because this only appeared after one particular member went on the ballot to run for the state. And I think that that is an attack on that person, and if it's inappropriate for us to attack members of the board verbally from this pulpit, it's inappropriate for you from that pulpit. Thank you.
Is there any more public comment? Is there anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is actually a question. Jim Militello, you're the attorney for the township, correct? In other words, you represent the township, which means that you, not just the trustees, but also the electors. Is that correct?
No, I represent the township board.
Only the board, only the trustees and the supervisor.
I represent
I
represent the officers of the township.
The officers of the township, okay.
So the supervisor, the township board, the highway commissioner, the assessor,
Okay.
the clerk, so the officers.
The officers, okay, okay. Can you tell me whether, Mr. Burr requested to talk about the October 1st meeting in the closed session, and my understanding of the law on this is that it shouldn't be discussed by the board in closed session. Is that the case?
I'm not understanding the question. Are you asking?
In the recent closed session that the board had, were you discussing the October 1st special meeting that the electors requested?
I think one of the pieces of information that was provided prior to going into executive session was the fact, and I noted the exclusion within the Open Meetings Act, which provides for the ability to go into executive session to discuss pending or threat litigation.
Yeah.
One of the requirements is then citing the case in which we're referencing, and I cited 18 MR 643, so if that's the case, you're talking about that.
Which is the case that is now in court. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Last call, any more public comment? Oh, okay.
Robert Beltran, 2814 Redmond Road, Mchenry, Illinois. And I just want to clarify the point that I think that Judith was trying to make, is that I am hopeful that we're not discussing in closed session the upcoming October 1st meeting, because that's not pending litigation, nor does it fit into any other exclusion of the Open Meetings Act. And if it does, then any decisions or actions that derive from that would be invalid or illegitimate. So, thank you.
Okay, any other public comment? None being heard, I would like to move for a motion for adjournment.
I make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Rakestraw, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Anderson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? None being heard, motion passes. Meeting's adjourned.
Sign this paper.
All right, don't forget to sign the paper.
I don't have it. Just before you escape. So, what would be, to share the cost, how do we get that? I need all the assessed value.
Extension inclusion. So
The PTO.
yeah, so they come out with a sheet.
Okay.
So let me look that up tomorrow to get you that.
Okay.
Because if you look on that sheet, that'll give you the exact number. So what I would do is to take all those numbers of your townships, add it all up, and take the, you know what I mean? So if you're at 100 and your total, you know what I mean, you divide it based on.
Well, before I get that far, let me just see how far I go with water. I just want to know in my motion, what to put in my motion.
I'll give you what, I'll call you tomorrow or send you an email with the language.
Just
I'll give you 9 o'clock, 2 different ways. One
Okay.
9
based
o'clock
on,
Monday morning,
maybe assessment.
we are good to go.
One based on,
not a problem.
So
Okay, good.
I'll give you both.
That's all I need. And then to move forward, if they want to move forward, then we'll go to the rest of it, okay? Keep it simple. Very good. Okay, thank you.
You know what, I do.
You gotta sign these. It's SRV. It's just double.
Oh, SRV, okay.
Go ahead.
Steve doesn't sign these?
Okay.
I think he does, and then they just put
Put
up
on
the date
me.
next.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. I
Right.
used to go to MP.
Wanna give me your thing?
Okay, so this one I had two, so we're done.
Is this it? What? Did I get it? Did I really get it?
Let's go to Steve then.
Why did I just?
No, I didn't.
He's gotta sign them anyway, then write a state or something.
Okay,
Okay.
Just for the record, and FOIA will come in an email.
I hope it.
17 years ago, when I get tricked out of that.
As a former FOIA officer, it does, an email doesn't have a signature. He said I didn't sign it, so it's
Your
invalid.
pen?
She tried.
That's it.
Okay, yeah, I got a lot of
okay, I got one more. I only,
Steve, I need your signature.
I have one thing for you.
I need,
Don't. Yeah, because
I only signed two
You
days.
still sign it. Still sign it, go right up.
Walk my way.
Gentlemen, good night.
Thanks, Jim. Take care.
Oh, I didn't write this, I didn't sign this one.
All right, I'm gonna hightail.
So what do I write? I sign my name, but then say abstain.
Steve,
Yeah,
yes.
just write abstain
I
next.
only abstained because I couldn't make head or tail of the way they did it.
That's all right.
And they put in all these